Welcome to 40 Below Zero, an international podcast about life with invisible illnesses, hosted by two guys living with multiple sclerosis. Coming to you from the Keystone State of Pennsylvania, I'm your co-host Nix, and with me on this ride is Terry, a Londoner who calls Ontario home. We're so happy you're here with us as we continue to try and normalize a life that is anything but. So let's get into it. Welcome back, Warriors. So glad you're with us once again. Sorry for the hiatus. Life does what it does. And sometimes you just got to prioritize yourself. So that's what Terry and I were doing for the last 2 weeks. So sorry about that, but we're glad you're back here with us, and we're really happy to be here. Terry, you doing better, my friend?
Yeah, I'm doing better.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know that you and I were both definitely going through some stuff over the last 2 weeks. A lot of personal stuff. Um, and the stress of dealing with your life, every doctor I've ever been to says, and it ends with, and avoid as much stress as you can.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, how do you do that, dude? I'm still trying to live my life,
Yeah.
you know? So unfortunately there was a loss, an unexpected loss, that hit close to my family. So we had to deal with that. Um, and it's never fun, you know, doing the mechanics of setting up services and like celebrations of life and stuff like that, and just
Yeah.
never something you want to deal with, but a necessary part of life.
I've kind of been fortunate, man, where I didn't have many people in my life pass away. So I don't experience it much, which kind of sucks because when it does happen, I'm sure I'll get hit hard. I've had a few friends pass away, but no immediate family members.
Yeah, like I said, it's never not the most pleasant part of life. Um, but now that we've given a proper send off, said our goodbyes or our see you laters, if you will. Because I don't really say goodbye that often. I just say I'll see you later because I believe that we'll all meet up somewhere at some point. Um,
That's cool.
yeah, and plus, you know, it to for me, it kind of eases the blow in your life, because it's not. I know it's final, but it doesn't feel as final when you say see you later. So
Dude, I
that,
like that a lot.
that's the way I look at it.
I'm always awkward, man, when like a friend of mine's goes through a death or whatever. Like
Yeah.
you're going through a death in the family. I don't know what to like. I can always come to you and say, you know, I give you my condolences.
Hmm.
It just to me that's I just don't like saying that. It's kind of like I have nothing to say, but I'm gonna say it to you anyway.
Yeah,
It's kind of
it's
fake
just
to
one of
me.
those things. Like you don't know what to say. Like words kind of fail you at that point. So I usually just say like, well, this sucks. like I was like,
I don't say that, but yeah, I hear you, man. That'd be better than
but see the immediate chuckle that you get because it's such a crappy situation that you got to say something. And for as serious as I am, I need to break the tension sometimes, and I just speaking from the heart and speaking honestly, I'll usually say something like that because it does.
I hear you, man. All I do is I look at them, I put my head down, and I go like this. Like
Yeah.
I'm just like,
I,
bro, I'm feeling for you, or
yeah, I got you.
yeah. Yo, tell me about your backdrop. That's really cool.
Oh yeah, when we were on break, I kind of moved some stuff around. So these are my shadow boxes. Um, for my this one law enforcement career and this one volunteer EMS career. Um, this is my, if I'm pointing at it right, this is my assistant fire marshal badge when I was in doing the fire marshal thing. The one in the middle is pretty cool looking. That is I was a state constable for a while, so that's
Yeah,
my
that's the
badge and
one.
patch.
That's the one I want. Yeah.
With the old Keystone logo, they don't even wear that patch anymore. So that's how you know you're old, when the whole department changes uniforms. And then on the
It's
corner here,
cool.
hang on. Yeah, right there. So that's my retired corporal badge, the old patch that department doesn't wear anymore, and my corporal stripes. So, and then there's all my EMS awards and stuff over here, patches and whatnot. Um, it is pretty cool. And I had that stuff kind of after and I don't know if I talked about this, maybe it was in group. Um, After my retirement, I had taken all this stuff and I had like put it in a drawer and forgotten about it and, didn't want to face it because talking about feeling like something was final. Um, so when I was talking with my therapist, a little while ago, she had mentioned, in order to kind of give it a space and give it somewhere that you can kind of memorialize and kind of honor what, you know, my career and what I had accomplished and, basically the life that I had had, um, that I take the important things and I put them in a shadow box. So that way I can look at them anytime I want to, but I don't have to carry around the burden of remembering everything, that I've done throughout all of this. So it is nice. And it was cool that it all fit right there and it kind of shows you who I was, where I come from. So yeah, I was very happy to do that.
It's cool,
Um,
man. I would have done the same thing. I know what you mean
yeah,
by putting it away so you don't face the
yeah,
end. But when you
yeah,
put it away, do you just say, I'll see you later?
yeah. I kind of did in a way. I was like, all right, well, honestly, I was hopeful, so I was brand new diagnosed and I was hopeful that I would get back to work. So I did kind of say, see you later. I was like, well, I hope this isn't the last time I see it, all this stuff, but it turned out, not to be the case. That's
Yeah, that's tough, bro. I hear you.
so, so it definitely helped process all of my emotions while I was doing that because, I did have an emotional response and I did get upset and I did feel sad and all that. And so I allowed myself a space and a time to do that.
Yeah.
And then ever since I did, I don't feel so bad when I look at this stuff. I look back on it, not like a loss, even though it still is. I look back on it with fondness because it's been so long. I mean, it's been over 10 years
Bro,
since
it
all
looks
the
like a set of accomplishments, but it's cool that you
thank
saw
you.
your therapist and that your therapist said that to you because
Hmm.
everybody needs to see a therapist when you get diagnosed just to make sure you're level headed through the diagnosis.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I bounce in and out. I
Yeah.
don't it's not an every day, every week kind of thing. It's, a couple months, couple sessions, and then I bounce out. And it's only when I come across it's when I come across something that I don't know how to process or I need help processing, then that's when
Yeah.
I don't go to Instagram for help. I actually go to a trained professional.
You making fun of me, bro? I usually go to a professional when someone's like, you need to see someone. I'm like, yeah, you're right. It's time. So I take
Yeah.
breaks too, man. I'm the same. I gotta talk to you about my infusion.
Oh, that's right. That just occurred.
I just had it done on Friday. And I was always not a big believer of the crap gap. I'm
Yeah,
like,
you've been saying that
because
every
the
time we had
last
a
time, yeah. And the last time I had it, I didn't really feel anything. I'm like, I don't know. Okay, let me tell you something. I might trigger some people. So I was really, really tired 2 weeks before, but I didn't know I was that exhausted. I'm, it just sounds silly. So I was really tired, man. I was tired. I was done. I could barely transfer onto my bed sometimes at night. I just thought it was nighttime. And um, it was just, dude, I struggled. No one saw everyone. If you seen me on camera, you just saw the happy Terry because it's easy to go on camera and smile. No matter how much energy you have, I can always be like, hey, but I was foggy. I know there was people that saw me the last few days before I got my infusion and I was foggy, bro. I couldn't put a sentence together. And even while I was talking, I'm like, I don't know why I can't talk right now. It, Definitely, I was going through something. Okay.
Hmm.
I thought I was going through a flare up, a relapse. Dude, I was depressed in my mind because I was like, I'm on my way out. Remember, I used to say that?
Yep.
Yo, I was really depressed. I was like, what's going on with my body? So then I did the treatments. And then that night, and I'm true, man. I'm not like, yeah, I was strong. I'm true to myself. So if I was strong, I'll say I'm strong. If I'm not, dude, I had a lot of energy. I was up and about. I was strong. I was not having any issues. Usually by the end of the night, I can barely stand up.
Hmm.
And I had no issues, bro. It was amazing. So here's my question to you, bro.
Okay.
It's a serious question. What kind of toothpaste do you use? No, no, no. I'm just joking. My question to you
Uh,
is why do you use toothpaste?
of course.
Why do you do the treatment if you're gonna get a crap gap? Dude, I if I'm gonna get that crap gap again, I'm not looking forward to it. That crap gap was like a not a relapse, but a big flare up.
Yeah, it felt like your fatigue went off the chart for no reason. Like all of a sudden you're doing fine, and then all of a sudden you can't, like you said, transfer, and you can't wake up for some reason. Like you just kind of feel like you're dragging all the time. Um,
And it was honestly, it was the 3 days before my infusion. So
mhm.
like I
That's
had it
pretty
for a
good.
week
Only
or
three
two
days,
before. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I had it for a week or two before, but the
right?
last 3 days I was struggling, man. It was a struggle.
So to answer your question, why do the treatment if you get the crap gap is because they're going to figure out a way to deal with that. The medicine company's already working on it. But why do you take it? For the same reason you take any DMT, bro. It's because you're not taking it for the you today. You're taking it for the you 10, 15, 20 years down the road.
Bro,
You could
that
do
crap gap.
nothing today. You could do nothing. You could take no medication and stay exactly where you are until one day, but the medication pushes that moment back further. At least that's the plan.
Yeah, I understand that, man, but it's so hard to accept the fact that you're about to take this medication, but be aware that in 6 months you're gonna go through a crap gap.
You can talk to, like I talk to mine, and I'll say it for any of the other Ocrevus users out there. There is a once a month injectable, and that would honestly that would eliminate the crap gap because you're taking it every month. And this is very preliminary, and with the state of research in the world right now, or at least in the states, um, they've been the manufacturers of Ocrevus have been working on shortening it to every 5 months to eliminate that. So that's in trials right now. So Ocrevus may at some point tell your doctor or us as patients, hey, listen, we're going to shorten that distance to every 5 months to
Because
eliminate that.
imagine I said, "Hey guys, I need to push my appointment for another week."
A
You know what I
week's
mean?
no big deal. A week,
No, no,
I've done that.
I
Yeah.
know. But what if I said 2 weeks, 3 weeks? That crap gap.
Yeah.
I told you I felt it 2 or 3 days before my infusion.
Mm-hmm.
I felt it 2 weeks before, but it wasn't as bad as the 2 days before. Dude, I
Yeah.
was I was like barely. It was a scary feeling for me to go through that.
Mm-hmm.
And now I understand what it was, and now I'm feeling a little better. I'm like, that was the crap gap. And people were like, "Are you okay?" And they were checking up on me. Like, there's a few people like Karim. I want to give a shout out to Karim. That guy is really cool. Guy. He's become a family to me. But he checks on me. Hey, how are you doing? You just got your treatments. Oh, no, no, you're about to get your treatments. Are you okay? You going through the crap gap? And I'm like, I'm fine, man. There is no crap gap. And then the 2, 3 days before, I'm like, and then
Here it is.
afterwards, holy, I was going through the crap gap. That is a real thing, man.
Yeah. But it's okay. It's a temporary thing. But the issue with, well, I don't want to say the issue. The caution I will say with pushing an infusion appointment out 2 weeks, 3 weeks is now you get into, now I'm sure that there's data out there somewhere that says you can go so long and still be fine. But you get into dangerous territory where now you're leaving yourself vulnerable for a rebound flare up.
Hmm.
And I've had one of those, and that was the worst flare up I've experienced since my first diagnosable flare. Like I was my doctor had left and no one had written me my prescription for Tysabri, and I was calling and trying to hunt down any doctor, um and nobody would write the script for me. So once I got to a doctor and told him what I was on, he was like, "Well, you've been on that for a while, and since you've been off it, let's switch to a Baggio, a pill,
Yeah, I know.
which is a different class of medicine. You know that."
Yeah.
But within that time period, I ended up back inpatient because I had such a horrible. It was the worst. My eyes were painful. Everything had hurt me, and that's because I went without my medication. So, I don't
Dude,
personally, I don't recommend pushing appointments out that far.
the night of the infusion, when I got home,
Hmm.
I couldn't sleep. My whole body was sore, and not a muscle sore, but like it just felt sore. I can't explain it. My whole body felt sore.
Well, it's because your immune system was fighting the Ocrevus because it identifies Ocrevus as an invader and it should kill it. But the problem is when it goes to kill it, it doesn't realize that it's Ocrevus and then it gets killed. So yeah,
And
it feels like you have the flu.
do you know? I'm pretty sure you won't know this, but you might. Do you know how much steroids are given to us or prednisone?
Well, it's different for everybody because
Is it?
it
Oh,
goes off
okay.
of body weight.
All right. Okay. Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yep.
They gave me a receipt when I was there. They're like, here's your receipt. Do you want it? And I'm like, receipt. And then I'm like, sure. And I grabbed it and it was this receipt with my prescription. And I had prednisone on it. But I think I read 100 milligrams. I might be wrong. So just ignore that.
Could be. It could be right
So
because it goes off weight.
Friday, I did my infusion. Our guest, by the way, is in the waiting room. We'll bring him in a
Okay.
second. So I did my infusion on Friday, and then on Sunday I had my massage therapist. He's everything. He's
Oh,
so
okay. Yeah.
cool.
Right.
He works on my muscles and everything. And he saw I had so much power. And he's like, what's going on? I'm like, it could be the really tight compression socks I just bought. It
Right.
could be that I just did treatment and there's prednisone in there. It could, I don't know what to say to him. And he's like, what treatment did you do? What does it do? And then here I am explaining to him. Like no
You're
one
an
gets it
ambassador.
unless yeah. So I'm explaining about the B cells and how it drops my immune system. And he's like, so you think it's the pregnant? I'm like, I don't know. We'll see next Sunday how I do. Right. Because he comes every Sunday. So we'll
Yeah.
see.
You're probably right. I know many people have, including myself, uh, talk about when they get their steroids and how they feel like they can like lift a car, but they get all shaky and jittery.
Yeah. It's not the same steroids, right? Like, I mean,
It is. Well, it's not anabolic, human growth hormone, like that kind of thing, but it is a steroid. It does do what steroids do. They do
it's
pump you up a bit there.
so are inhalers. They're steroids too,
Yep.
you know.
All right, brother. Well, let's bring in our guest for the week, Sean.
Hang on a
Oh,
second.
there you go.
Hey,
What's
there
up,
we
bro?
go. How's it going?
What's going on, man? That's the guy I know.
How's it going?
Welcome, welcome to the Beard Show.
Yeah, well, thanks for calling it a beard. Yeah, barely passes as a beard, but yeah,
No,
yeah.
it's good. So, yo, Sean, I'm glad that you're here. Thanks for coming on to our show. Um,
Thanks for inviting me.
Obviously, you have MS. We all have MS. You are taking Ocrevus, and we're gonna go. We have a lot to talk about with you.
Yeah,
The first thing I really want to start with is your allergic reaction to Ocrevus because we are both on Ocrevus.
yeah. So, yeah, yeah. So I had my last infusion on Friday, just gone. During the day, it's kind of like it's weird because during the process, I feel fine. If anything, extremely bored. and get tired from the boredom. But the evening, I get very restless. So like I get pain down in my like hips and my legs. I get really bad pain, and then I can't sleep. Keeps me awake. That has a knock-on effect with the Saturday, Saturday the next day, and then I get like sunburn on my face and my arms. It's like an allergic reaction, but it's not that. It just feels warm, like I have like a mild sunburn.
Mhm.
And I take antihistamines, and then 48 hours later, it's gone. I feel I'm quite lucky with my side effects with Ocrevus. I see people, I know of people who get quite extreme extreme side effects. I know they get sickness, nausea, and some quite severe sort of fatigue with it. And obviously people get flare-ups with their symptoms, with their MS symptoms, because of the hit on their body. But again, I consider myself very lucky. I might have a moan about it, but there are those that are far worse than me. I feel I have a right to moan sometimes, and then others I'm like, okay, maybe not. Maybe I've got this too good, to be fair. But yeah. What about yourself?
So before you came on, I was just talking about how, because I was on Ocrevus on Friday. So, and then I saw
All right.
your post and I'm like, oh my God, we just did it on the same day. So that's pretty cool. We can
Yeah.
compare. But it's funny because I was just telling Nick the first night when I went home, I had pain in my body. I couldn't sleep. And it wasn't the pain where it's like muscle pain. It was just a weird ache. My body was
Yeah.
aching and I couldn't sleep. And yeah, same as you. I felt nothing during the infusion. Thank God I didn't have any allergic reactions
Mhm.
yet. And I've been on it, I think, for a year now, a year and a half, something like that.
Oh,
How long
cool.
have you been
Yeah,
on it
yeah.
for?
I think I'm on 5 years now.
Oh wow.
5 years. So I was on Copaxone from diagnosis, and then I had a relapse, and then they kind of diagnosed. They uplifted it to highly active, relapsing remitting, and they were like, right, let's get you on something. And initially, I was on the path for. I don't know what the term is, but I can't remember the name. There was a drug called Lemtrada,
Yeah.
Yep.
which was like big hitter, number one drug over here, that what they said. And then eventually something happened in Europe. I think someone in Europe got an infection because of it, and then they changed the qualifying criteria to get that drug. And I did within 2 weeks no longer qualified for that drug. But either or, it's weighing up the risk with the reward, isn't it? It's sort of like, and I've been absolutely spot on with Ocrevus. I've not had, again, like very mild reactions to it, and
Good.
my quality of life has definitely improved because of it. Once every 6 months for me is not a problem.
Mhm.
So yeah, like I joke on my post, it's a bit of a spa day for me. I get to go and read my book and watch my tablet, and uninterrupted, and
Yeah.
no kids, no chores, just sit there for 6, 7 hours and do what I want. Well, within reason, but yeah.
Well, so let's talk about life. What does life with MS look like for you outside of once every 6 months? What do you do? How have your life changed? All the good stuff we like to talk about here.
So when I got diagnosed, I was in the military. I was in the Royal Navy, and I'd been in the Royal Navy for about 9 years when I first had symptoms, and it's was initially misdiagnosed. I was an aircraft engineer in the Royal Navy, and I was working on helicopters, and I'd done a specific job where I was stretching my arm inside a tail cone of a helicopter for, I think ended up being 2 weeks worth of work, and I was just rewiring this tail loom, and I definitely overstretched, and then after a few days in, I thought, oh, my arm's aching. That's a bit weird. I've just overdone it. And then at the end of the 2 weeks, I had sort of numbness in my fingers and pins and needles in my neck.
Huh.
And I went to the doctors, and they just went, yeah, you've trapped your nerve. So 6 months later, 6 months of physiotherapy with the military is great. I mean, I can't fault the medical side of things. They were immediate. They were like, yep, physiotherapy done. Fantastic. Wasn't happening. Nothing changed. If anything, it got worse. My sensation changed. I started to get flashing lights in my eyes at night time. And from there, they went in the military here. They've got an intensive physio course you can go on.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to drive a couple of hours away to this physio course. It's 3 weeks. I had to stay over. Oh, well, I was going to stay over for the 3 weeks locally because it was like a 9 to 5 job for 3 weeks. You turn up and you just do physiotherapy. And I was there for 10 minutes, and the doctor who does the initial interview just sort of gave me a knowing look and was like, yeah, you haven't got a trapped nerve. I'm going, and he picked up the phone and he was like, have you got a car? I was like, yeah, I'm parked outside. And he goes, okay, I'm just going to make a call. You're going to go for an MRI. And I was like, because that one doctor, he set the first domino to fall to, and then very, very luckily, I think one of the top MS doctors, research doctors in the UK is actually a military neurologist as well. He's a Royal Naval neurologist. They were like, it's a bit of a drive from where you live, but I recommend you go and see this doctor. I was like, okay, fine. Because I could have had it locally if I wanted, but while I was under the care of the military, they wanted me under a military doctor. So fine, brilliant. And that was 2016, almost a year after, no, 6 months after I had my initial symptoms. And then it took about 6 months to get diagnosed, which I believe is very, very quick for MS. I know it can take a lot longer. Again, I keep saying it, I consider myself very lucky, circumstantial. But yeah, the doctor, he was fantastic, because most cases like that, the military would be gone, see you later, off you go. We're going to discharge you outside.
Yeah, that was my next question.
Yeah. So I was in a very particular circumstance where I was doing a particular engineering support job that no one really wanted to do, and I happened to be quite good at it. And I kind of forged the responsibility for myself, and a kind of reputation in that role, where they were like, well, we don't want to lose him, so what can we do? I spoke to I was a particular place in my life as well, because my wife was pregnant. We were looking for a house, and we were to be out of military housing. We were trying to buy our own house, and also I was hoping to get promoted within the military as well. And within 3 days, we found out my wife was pregnant. I got promoted, and I got diagnosed with MS, and that was in the April of 2016. And yeah, it was just I went to the doctors and I was like, look, this is my life right now. And he kind of was like, leave it with me. And he wrote a letter to the medical board and was like, yeah, we have a duty of care while this man is under treatment till he's stable on treatment. And he basically said you could probably got maximum 5 years in the military before we will have to discharge you. And I was like, that's more than I expected. I had to go to an annual medical board where I would sit on. It's imagine the old-fashioned naval sort of buildings, and there's this table, must have been about 30 foot long, and there's 4 doctors on one side of the table, and they're about 10 foot away from me because of the size of this table, and I'd sit by myself on this other side of the table, and then it feels longer, but it's only 15 minutes, and they just hammer you with questions about why should you be in the military, do you tick all the boxes? It feels like a job interview, and that happened every 12 months. And the first one really stressed me out, and I was like, this isn't good for my MS, stressing me out doing this. And I almost had to, it felt like I wasn't trying to defend my job. I ended up trying to defend my MS diagnosis, because they were like, well, it's like they'd read like a leaflet in a pamphlet in a doctor's office on MS. None of them were experts on MS. They read a little bit about it, And
Yeah.
I was like, actually, no, you're wrong. Telling a doctor of 30 years that he was wrong about multiple sclerosis and things like that. And I'm like that. If I think I'm right, I will argue to the ends of the earth if I think I'm right.
Dude.
It probably didn't do me any favors, but yeah, that's it. And 5 years later, I was still in. I ended up getting discharged in 2021. And that was because I ended up saying, I can't do this anymore. The job's
Right.
too stressful. I can't, it was too much work. And it's becoming problematic for my health.
So were
And
they so you were able to get a an honorable discharge like on time? You didn't suffer because of it, or
no. So yeah, the way the medical discharges work, you can there's like a tier system on whether
okay.
you can work full time with no issues, work full time with issues, medical issues, or never work again. And it depending on where you fall in those categories depends on your sort of financial, how they assist you financially. So
I got you. Yep.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I was very lucky to be able to. I was able that 5 year window that doctor gave me the opportunity to plan my life for exit, which a lot of people don't get to do. I was able to sort of go,
No.
right, we need a house, right, we need this, right, just tick boxes. It allowed me to be able to plan. And my wife will tell you I plan everything. If I leave the house, I plan. I have a tick off list for everything. Otherwise, I'll forget something.
Oh,
But
that's another thing.
yeah,
That's another thing you wrote to me. You're like, oh, it's on my calendar, which I use for everything. Dude, me too.
yeah,
Everything. I have my agenda. I'm like OCD
yeah,
with that stuff.
Yeah.
yeah.
How many kids do you have?
I've just got the one. Yeah,
Okay.
just the one. Little girl. She's 8. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. The reason why I sort of get out of bed. I know it's a cliche to say, but and I joke and say my social life is ensuring that she has a social life. That's what I do. I get out of bed to make sure she gets to all her clubs, gets to all her guitar lessons, her gymnastics, everything, every party, every she gets to, and that's main reason why I started this kind of fitness journey side to what my Instagram page is about.
Yeah.
Is I kind of I'd not given up, but I'd kind of given into MS. Like, well, it's got me now, and I let myself go. I was um especially during COVID, I hit nearly 18 stone. I just really lethargic, just no get up and go. And then when we come out of COVID, I was questioning it, going, well, how come, I can't keep up with her anymore? I can't, and I'm only 37. And I was like, what can I do? What can I do? And my wife goes to the gym. A lot of my family members go to the gym. My brother-in-law's a PT. He trains people and stuff like that, and they all go to the same sort of functional fitness gym. And it was October last year. I'd lost a little bit of weight last year. I thought, let's eat properly, shall we? And the difference that made to my life was phenomenal. Like just getting to a healthy weight was phenomenal, and I was able to hang on. I could go further with this. It wasn't just MS. It was me being 18 stone nearly and being lazy and not just giving into MS. Sorry.
18 stone is 250 pounds for anyone that needs to know.
Yeah, for those of us playing
Oh
along.
yeah, I forgot about it. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
okay.
yeah. There's a. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. Yeah. So yeah,
You're funny, bro.
yeah,
But no,
So,
yeah.
listen, you have a the the amazing thing is that you have a very common story. Um, I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
it sucks, but it's common. Um, and one of the greatest parts about my diagnosis was the fact that I was in a similar situation as you were, that my kids were 10 and 9 when I was diagnosed. And I had so much fun being their taxi driver and being at everything. And I've been there. It's such a blessing after this horrible disease that you're tagged with. So I
yeah,
fully understand what it's like to have. So it's not cliche. Um, it's a great purpose. It's a great reason to do what we do.
Purpose. That's the word. That's the word. Purpose. It gives you a purpose. I don't know what I don't know what I'm gonna do when she's 15 and she's like, leave me alone, dad. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Does she know you
But
have MS?
no, I was going to go on to say that actually. Yeah. So
Wow.
we've nearly in the last week, we've nearly slipped up a little bit, but she's too smart for me. She'll piece it together eventually. But while I'm dad and I'm indestructible, I'd like to keep it that way for as long as I can.
One of the things that comes up a lot is um, white knight syndrome or white horse syndrome, depending on what you want to say. And it's just exactly what you said. Um, while your dad, I'm indestructible. Now, just from personal experience, and it's okay to share what you're going through. My
Yeah,
daughters, like I said, they were 10 and 9 when I was diagnosed. I didn't really tell them a whole lot. Like I didn't get into the specifics of how B cells work and, all that kind of stuff. Um, but it's good. They are smarter than you think, and they do know
yeah,
something's up. And, I'm not, just from my experience, I found it helpful and less stressful for me to not have to try to maintain that standard of what I thought dad should be after my kids knew what I was going through,
yeah, yeah,
you know. But
yeah. I
I fully
appreciate that.
I
Yeah,
fully understand what you're saying. I've been there. I've done that.
yeah. Yeah, she's a worrier. She worries, and for such a she's quite emotionally intelligent. She
Hmm.
gets that from the wife. She definitely doesn't get that from me. And she, I think eventually, she, we will tell
Oh yeah.
her. But when we think she's right, she's in the right headspace and she's old enough to understand the implications of it.
Yeah.
Because she will worry, and that's
Sure.
that indestructible thing is more of a pride thing for me rather
Been
than
there.
anything else. So it's just like while she knows it. I mean, I wouldn't be able to do this without my wife anyway. She's absolute like support, all the support I needed. Um, and she knows before I do when I need to take a break and things like
Hmm.
that. She tells me what to do. I just turn up. She tells me what to do. So, but yeah, it's yeah, it's a an unusual circumstance, and it's got to be dealt with. I think delicately, especially because all kids are different. I think I think if someone told me something like that when I was 8, I'd have just yeah, whatever. Don't
Sure. I
really
don't.
understand. I was too immature to understand to really understand it. But I
Sure.
think my
Absolutely.
daughter would definitely know. Yeah, she understands a lot more than she lets on. So yeah, but yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah.
I don't think there's. It's who am I to say this? But I don't think there's a right way anyway. Like this person's going to be like, you should say it like this. You should do. I don't think. I think this is all
Yeah.
new to everybody. So like,
Yep.
that's
That's why I
crazy.
just recommend. I don't
Oh
advise. I
yeah,
just,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
share
No,
my
no, no.
experience.
That's all we can do, though, isn't it? That's all you can do is share and collectively. Um, you make opinions and you make judgments based off. I try to learn off of other people's mistakes rather than my own. It doesn't always go well, but yeah, it is what it is.
Where do you live anyway? No,
So I
you're
live. I'm from Liverpool,
Liverpool.
uh,
Okay.
and I live in Somerset. So I moved down to Somerset
Okay.
with the Navy, and then we bought locally because our lives were here. My wife's family are local, and all our support network. We actually, when we all bought our houses, my wife's brother bought the house 2 doors down. So,
Nice.
and he lives with his fiance, and they've got a little boy, a couple of years younger than my daughter, and now my wife's sister lives 5 doors down because they've seen the benefits of all living close together. So
Nice.
it's all really helpful for like childcare and
Yeah.
letting the dogs out and while we're at work and things like that. So yeah, it's really good. It's really handy. It's nice having that close network as well of people. And we're not up in each other's business. We don't get in
Right.
each other's way.
Yeah.
It's just nice to know everyone's there. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah.
I love your Instagram account.
Yeah, I tried to. That's why I didn't. I've been talking about doing that for a long time, doing the Instagram page, and I've talked myself out of it, and then I don't know, it's a lot of work trying to stay on top of an Instagram page like that, and then you're worried about what am I going to say next. But it's not like I'm going to be stuck for MS things to talk about. But
Yeah,
then
right.
I've seen some pages, and they're not personal. They are an education piece on MS, and it's quite dry. And I felt like that's why I'll inject a little bit of humor into it. And if you don't laugh, you'll cry. So you may as well just laugh about it. So, um,
Ah, quote of the day.
and and that it was my wife that taught me into doing it. She said, and the people at the gym, because the gym we go to is it's a really good community, and everyone's really supportive. We've got people from all kinds of backgrounds. We've got people with all kinds of disabilities, hidden and visible, and is a really great place to go. And then they learn, oh, you've got MS. What's that? And then it was like, well, my wife Katie was, well, why don't you do this Instagram page then and educate people? It's a place where people can go and then see people who know you. And if it grows legs and, other people follow it, great. And I go into the gym now and people ask me questions straight away. I didn't know that. I didn't know this. What about that? How does it affect you this way? Now, I went in today to just pick up my wife from her class earlier on. And immediately one of the guys in there was just like, what you did on Friday, you have to do that every 6 months. Ocrevus, every six
That's
months. Like, yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. And it's there's no real line. I mean, you can overshare all you want, but I think the nature of Instagram and being short, sharp posts, it's not Facebook, it's not Twitter, it's and with it being visual, you can portray a lot more than just bombarding people with words, which I try not to do. And I know I do it sometimes in some of those little post-its that I've got on my Instagram thing. But it's quite hard to not put more information down to make sure you explain something properly. And because I've had a break from going to the gym for crap gap and now post treatment, I'll probably try and go back next week. I'll do like a staggered. I'll get more fitness stuff out there if I can, and to break up the transmission of this is what MS is. This is what MS is, and
Yeah.
you know, it it's created conversations, which is what I wanted it to do, and got rid of some of the stigma
Hmm.
and made people, because people look at me. I'm 6'2". I'm now, I've lost a lot of weight, and people look at me and go, "Oh, he looks after himself a little bit." And what you
Yeah.
can't see is I'm walking through treacle, trying to just go about my day. It's really hard walking, just going about your day. Some days, you got bad fatigue, and people don't immediately register that, and it shines a light on hidden disabilities and things like that. So, which is really good. That's what I wanted it to do. So.
Yeah, and it builds community because, you need a large community support because you never know who's paying attention to something you're not. So if you go into the gym and people kind of eye you up and go, "Oh, okay, maybe he's not looking too good today," even though you think you're good. Um, and then you get to join this amazing Instagram community of MS warriors.
Yeah, yeah. It's surprising. It's surprising that I've been talked to people or people who've just been diagnosed, to people who were diagnosed 45 years ago. In the last, my Instagram page has been going for about 5-6 weeks now. And the
Yeah.
conversations I've had have been real eye openers, going from people who've been diagnosed and then immediately got on treatments that others have been fighting to get on for decades. And
Yeah.
it's geographical as well. It's like a postcode or zip code lottery, where it depends on where you are whether you get these and are entitled to these treatments or not. So yeah, it's still quite bad on how it's sort of the criteria, the qualifying
Hmm.
criteria for treatments and things. I know that they're there for a reason, but I may qualify for something that someone else not. Someone I left the military with the day I got medically discharged. I'd worked with him for 14, yeah, 14 years. He also got diagnosed with MS about I want to say around 2019, and he got discharged exactly the same day as me for MS, and we'd worked with
Wow.
each other for over 10 years, and he'd had very different symptoms to me, but he'd had symptoms for over 10 years, and he'd been going to the sick bay for the medical center in the military, and they'd been not very dismissive of it, going, "It's not that, it's this, it's not MS." No, it's not. And he's like, "Well,
Yeah,
my
it
mum's
happens.
got MS. My mum's got MS, and her twin sister's got MS, and I've got similar symptoms to them." And they were very dismissive of it. And then he eventually got diagnosed and discharged almost immediately, whereas I had 5 years extra, and that was because he was a different rank to me.
Gotcha.
So I was more employable than him in particular roles, whereas he wasn't. So it's look at the draw. It's really, really unfortunate.
Wow. Yeah.
So yeah,
It definitely highlights the fact that you need to advocate for yourself, you know.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So, last question before we wrap this up.
Yeah,
You have tattoos. Did you get any tattoos after you got diagnosed?
Any MS
absolutely. I
tattoos?
did. No MS tattoos, but yeah, I am covered in them. I wouldn't say they're
Nice.
good, but yeah. So I I have a habit of when I book a tattoo, I I go to a specific place who I love the artwork this guy does, and I just book out a day. And that could be, and he will work from when he starts to when he either can't do anymore because his back hurts him, or I say I can't take
Oh,
anymore.
okay.
And so I've had plenty of sessions with him. I've not had one in a long time, but I'd say 3/4 of my tattoos have been done since having MS diagnosis. And the first half an hour is painful, and then I kind of just go to a place, and
Ink
on
therapy.
two or three occasions I fell asleep, and whether that was through exhaustion because like MS fatigue of being stabbed with a needle 1,000 times a minute is worn me out, and then I've just fallen asleep because I dropped my phone as well and everything. I just sort of fell asleep, and he thought I'd fainted, but no, I just fell asleep. But yeah, most of them are. Why have you had some done yourself with MS?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, no. I mean, I do have one. It's nothing special. I do want to get my whole arm done, my sleeve eventually, but I just ask because I want to know, like, after you get
A lot,
diagnosed,
a lot of
no,
people do it.
yeah, like I'm just
Yeah,
curious what, you've done, you know. Yeah, I
yeah,
got
yeah. It
courage.
cost me a
I
lot of
got
money.
courage. I got something
Yeah,
silly little, just to remind
yeah.
myself.
Yeah, the main one was I got a moth, a lunar moth here, which my daughter's
Yeah.
called Luna. So I got a lunar moth
Okay.
there. I did sneak in a Star Wars symbol in there, and it took the wife about 3 years to realize. And then I was in a lot of trouble because I'd snuck in a Star Wars tattoo. She's not a fan of Star Wars. But yeah,
Me
yeah,
That's
too.
funny.
What? What?
Well, speaking of family, we always ask message to your family and your support system if you'd like.
I don't think I'd be here. Um, I went through a very dark time in, a couple of years after diagnosis, and it was my wife that contacted a charity that said, he needs help. And I had some therapy, and yeah, I was in a dark place. And I don't think without her doing that, taking that step for me, and this is what I'm saying before, she recognizes it before I do. She's my number one for support. But everyone my family supports knows exactly what I go through. No matter how what's the word, trivial it might seem to some. But yeah, my whole family are great. The whole everyone knows what it is. Everyone's, I think, done their research. Everyone asks questions, which I think is good. Conversation is always a good thing. And like I said, my daughter, she's the reason I get up. So yeah, I can't thank them enough. Really, I can't. It's amazing. the person I am now, 10 years later, nearly 10 years later, is very different. Yeah, yeah. I'd say humbled me massively and made me appreciate things a lot more, and especially my family. Yeah. So
I can understand that. Nick, are you gonna ask someone, do you have any shout outs? Is anyone ever gonna say, nah?
No, I hope not. It's my hope that every MS warrior has a support network behind them, and it sounds like you have a fantastic one, and they live very close. So, thanks for
yeah,
coming on the show today, sharing your
no,
story. Where can we find you on Instagram?
MS equals. That's my Instagram handle for
And
thingy. Yeah, yeah.
all
MS
right,
equals.
and Terry will link it to the show page so that hopefully people in your area and not in your area who just want to follow your journey can do that. So, thank you very much. We appreciate your story. All the best.
Awesome,
Thanks for
man.
having me.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Sean.
guys.
We'll talk
Thank
to you
you.
soon.
Bye bye.
All right, brother. What a cool guy. Thanks for reaching out to him as always. Very much appreciate it. Very common story, which just goes to highlight that whether you're in the States or Canada or the UK, MS is the thing that locks us all together. So I'll talk soon, brother.
Yeah, man. We'll talk soon, bro. So check us out at 40belowzero.com. That's 4 letter T below zero.com. Or feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Our email address is info@40belowzero.com. Our personal Instagram account are, for Nick's, it's Nix_V713. Or for Terry, it's what's_MS. Awesome. Looking forward to hearing from you guys. We'll talk soon.